All right, everybody. Anybody hear me? I'm starting to join now. Screen here. It's just me. There you are. How are you doing?
Hey, good. How's it going?
Good. Looks like we got 8 on here so far. Wait a minute, and then we can start.
Cool.
All right. Well, I've got 202. Welcome, everybody. We'll get started. My name is Craig Petronella. I'm your host today, along with Josh Langford. I'm a certified blockchain AI and cybersecurity expert in Raleigh, North Carolina. I've authored multiple books. I'm currently working on a book in the blockchain space right now, and recently launched my blockchain security magazine on the iOS store. So my company, Petronella Technology Group, has 3 main divisions. The cybersecurity division, which focuses on consulting, assessments, such as NIST, PCI, HIPAA compliance, remediation, where we help fix the problems that we find, and then provide ongoing managed security solutions leveraging patent security. The second pillar of our company is called PetronellaMarketing.com, where we provide consulting digital marketing solutions, CRM, Infusionsoft, ClickFunnels, excuse me, social media management, SEO, basically where we help our clients grow their practice or small business with advanced lead generation. And then the latest is blockchainsecurity.com, which is where we are looking to create an ecosystem to bring ideas in the blockchain, artificial intelligence, and IoT spaces, really just bring them to life. So what does that mean? That means we'll provide consulting services, development, cybersecurity solutions, as well as helping our clients raise capital through either traditional means or through what's called an ICO or initial coin offering, and then provide ongoing post-ICO services after the project is launched. So the mission is to really create that ecosystem for businesses. I've done a lot of research in this space and found that there really isn't a company that's doing all this under one umbrella. There's really a shortage of people in all the different spaces. So what I'm doing is I'm creating that ecosystem together of all the people that you need, whether it's an attorney that specializes in blockchain, or an AI expert, or a machine learning expert, or blockchain, just bringing that group of elite people together to create a comfortable environment like this, to explore ideas. And if there's something confidential in nature, then you could obviously private message me, and we could have a private one-on-one conversation to explore that project with you and give you options to move you along on your journey. So, your big idea, is it blockchain? Is it AI? Or is it IoT? Is it all the above? If yes, basically what we can help you with, if you haven't done so already, is come up with that business plan. Come up with that figuring out what technologies can be leveraged, if any. Sometimes there's just not a good fit Right now, there's some limitations in the blockchain space that people are working on, developers. Some may be on the call actually, where you want to store a large amount of data, and that currently is a limitation. So it just really depends on where your idea fits and where your business model is and what can be done, if anything. So we have what's called a deep dive discovery. So if you just have the idea component and you don't have the business use case and you really don't know where to go from there, we could do a deep dive for you and basically create all that for you. That's your deliverable, your blueprint, your game plan of how do you take advantage of some of this stuff to gain a competitive advantage and bring this idea to life and monetize it. So I've created a blockchain inner circle group, which I'll talk about later on this presentation, where all of you guys can join that group to get access to all of this talent. And I'm doing all the vetting and the heavy lifting for you. I'm constantly just devouring reams of information and simmering it down and connecting with the best people in the space possible, and putting these webinars together so that we can all talk and have group calls. And so in the inner circle, I'm going to plan to do one group call a month and one private one-on-one call. That's how it's set up right now. That could change. And then if you have a good idea, maybe it's patentable. There's even Amazon actually just patented something in this space. So there's some big companies that are patenting solutions that can be explored as well. And then also helping you raise money through an ICO or fundraising, which typically costs between $200K and $1 million on up. So I created this inner circle to bring everybody together, the best and brightest minds, in a comfortable Zoom setting like this, where it's easy for you guys to join wherever you are in the world and explore these opportunities in blockchain, IoT, and AI. You can sign up at blockchaininnercircle.com, or you can go to blockchainsecurity.com and click the appropriate link there for the inner circle. And for those today that are going to stay on for the full presentation, I have a special surprise for you guys. So be sure to stick around. So I added these slides in compared to last week because the audience is a little different this time. We've got people from all across the spectrum, and some of you guys don't even know what blockchain is. So I wanted to do kind of a low-level overview. So that's what this is for. So basically, blockchain is distributed ledger technology, or DLT. And what that means in the demonstration here is that you've got these blocks of data, okay? And the data is then protected by a hash. And for example, with Bitcoin is the first application to really build upon the foundational component of a blockchain. So a lot of people, there's some misconceptions there, but basically, so you have this DLT, and there's a consensus algorithm. In the Bitcoin case, it's proof of work, where there's cryptographic puzzles that are solved to make sure that the block is authentic, and the first one to solve that cryptographic puzzle wins, and the longest chain is the most trusted. So that's why there's this big, massive race right now with mining Bitcoin, for example, and other coins as well. So that's why there's these mining farms popping up all over the world. So hashes are similar to a fingerprint. It identifies the block and all of its contents. And anybody that makes a change to a block causes the hash to change, and it breaks the entire chain, requiring every block to be re-verified, which is virtually impossible. So cryptocurrency mining includes two functions, namely adding transactions to the blockchain, securing and verifying, and also releasing new currency. There's individual blocks that could be added by the miners to contain a proof of work, or POW. In this case, we're talking about Bitcoin in particular. There's different consensus algorithms. One of the newer ones is called proof of elapsed time. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But basically, to mine, you need a computer and a special program. which helps the miners compete with their peers in solving these cryptographic complicated mathematical problems, which would need a lot of computer resources. They draw a tremendous amount of electricity, and that's where the whole proof of work consensus algorithm that Bitcoin's using, a lot of people are getting very frustrated with it because of the power consumption and the heat that's generated. And so that's why these new consensus algorithms are coming out. So basically, the miners would attempt to solve a block, having the transactional data using the cryptographic hash functions. The most popular methods of finding consensus in a blockchain are the PBFT, the Practical Byzantine Fault-Tolerant Algorithm. Hyperledger, which I'll talk about later in this presentation, is a private blockchain solution that has a good fit in the sensitive areas such as medical, legal, basically areas where you don't want the chain to be completely public. You want control over who has permissions to what. The proof of work with Bitcoin we talked about. Proof of stake algorithm is Ethereum's latest hard fork called Casper. That Ethereum coin is used to supply the fuel or gas for smart contracts, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And then we've got delegated proof of stake, which is DPoS. We've got proof of elapsed time, which is popular. That was brought out by Intel, but it uses a heck of a lot less electricity. It goes against the grain, so a lot of people are kind of skeptical and not really sure if they trust it or not because it's centralized. And the whole the big value of something like a proof of work algorithm is the trustless ecosystem. So basically, you don't have to trust a single party, and that's what people like about this technology. So consensus depends on the algorithm that's chosen, and there is a 51% attack theory where if a certain company or part of the world that has a lot of hash power could potentially compromise the chain and trick it into the longest chain and becoming more trusted. So that's a risk there. But basically, like I said before, the longest chain wins. It's a very unlikely thing that can happen, but it is possible. So here's a diagram here that shows how blockchain works. Like I said, it's an up-to-date, real-time ledger of anything that can be recorded, from financial transactions to ownership of physical assets stored in a distributed peer-to-peer fashion. Anyone remember Napster? Napster, really popular with music. People would download music for free. Everybody was burning CDs at the time, if you remember that era. Well, what happened, though, is the MPAA got wind of that, obviously, and they didn't like it because of copyright infringement. So since Napster was owned by a single company or entity, they were able to be shut down. Well, the quote-unquote 2.0 version of that is called Kazaa or Tor or BitTorrent. These technologies are decentralized, which means that the MPAA spent millions and millions of dollars trying to shut them down, but there's no way, no single person or company to go after. There's a worldwide peer-to-peer setup. So there was no way to shut it down. Much like Bitcoin, by the way. So even if governments don't like it, there's really no way to shut it down. The only way to shut it down is to power off and shut off every miner in the world. And if there's even just one still standing, the whole network still works. So extremely unlikely, especially with the popularity of Bitcoin. But every record is encrypted and timestamped. Only users can edit a part of the blockchain that they own, and they gain access to the file because they have a private key that allows them to. It ensures that everyone's copy of the distributed blockchain is kept in sync. There are different kinds of blockchain, which we'll talk about more later. Public, Bitcoin's obviously public, and then there's private, which I like the Hyperledger solution. That's a private permissioned option where you can send anyone value anywhere in the world where the blockchain file can be accessed. So the first blockchain example was conceptualized by a person or a group of people, which nobody really knows, but the name was Satoshi Nakamoto, and this all came out about in 2008. It's basically the blockchain is the application that lives on top of the distributed ledger technology or blockchain foundational. So it's a core component of the cryptocurrency Bitcoin, where it serves as the public ledger for all transactions on the network. And through the use of a blockchain, Bitcoin became the first digital currency. So the evolution and use cases with altcoins, there's new altcoins coming out every day. Ethereum, Litecoin, Ripple are the popular ones. Bitcoin broke off into a fork called Bitcoin Hash. There's new coins that come out all the time, and different exchanges are popping up that support certain coins. So it's really a very rapidly changing area right now. So in the legal profession, I touched on smart contracts a little bit earlier. Smart contracts are really hot in the legal profession, and most are powered by Ethereum. There is a way to do smart contracts with Hyperledger and other technologies, but the most popular is Ethereum. So you create a contract, and basically in the law space or the legal space, the contract is traditionally on paper, while a smart contract is a computer program that is programmed to execute based on certain criteria that's defined by the writer or the attorney and or all parties involved. And then it's set up as a computer program that can self-execute. So you could actually fund and put money into the smart contract, which is really cool. And that's actually being used right now as we speak. And it's revolutionizing the entire legal industry. So this is the Hyperledger slide that I built for you guys. It's an open source blockchain project that's led by the Linux Foundation. It's a collection of many different projects that basically the Hyperledger fabric was first created by IBM, and then it was donated to the Linux Foundation. So what this is it gives you the ability to do a permissions network where you get to define who can access and control that membership and access rights. It ensures confidential transactions. So it's a good use case for medical, for example. You don't have to require a cryptocurrency. It doesn't require mining and expensive computations to assure the transactions. And it's a completely programmable system that leverages logic and smart contracts to automate the business processes across the network. So this is a use case example, Hyperledger Sawtooth. Basically, in the seafood, there's a problem in the seafood area with counterfeiting. So say you go to a restaurant and you order a sea bass for dinner, and you start eating your food and you're not really sure, but it doesn't really taste like sea bass. You've had it a few times and it just doesn't taste right. Well, what's cool about this particular project is what they've done is they've recorded the journey of seafood from the ocean to the table. So if there was a dispute, like you thought you got sea bass, you could actually go to the restaurant, your waiter or waitress, and ask for the authenticity. And they can show you the whole journey on a blockchain, where they can show where it was caught, the time and temperature, the humidity, how it traveled from where it was caught to the table. And then it's an immutable record that can be trusted. So that's one cool use case in the supply chain as well. So this is a graphical representation of that, where the seafood's caught by the fishermen, physically tagged with the IoT sensor. They continuously transmit the data about the time, the temperature, location, humidity, all the factors that you want to track. And then it tracks the possession changes all the way to the table. So it really automates a lot of the record keeping, and it ensures that the record is accurate because it's then checked by the community. Make sure that maybe it wasn't properly iced, things like that could be checked for. And it really cuts down on the illegal fishing practices. So there's a couple other areas of Hyperledger. Aroha is a business blockchain framework that basically what it is it makes it easier for corporations to explore projects requiring distributed ledger technology. And then the fabric it's basically the foundation for all these different pieces that make the ecosystem to make it easier to have all the pieces that you need to create a private blockchain solution. So you have your consensus, your membership services, and everything there that as a fabric for you to utilize with your development in IT. So this is in summary of what we've covered: distributed ledger technology or DLT, mining, proof of works, and we talked a little bit about Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, smart contracts, Hyperledger applications, a phishing example, which can be easily applied to crops, as well as finance and real estate. One area that I'll mention too, in the example similar to phishing, Walmart actually uses blockchain technology to track their produce. So there's a big problem with E. coli and detecting, where did that come from. So now they have tags on their seafood where they can just be scanned, and in seconds they can trace where that piece of produce came from, and then notify the proper people to recall those areas. And so it really cuts down on the time to solve that problem. So here's a slide about my inner circle, where I'd love to have you all join my inner circle. I'm doing a special offer for the next 24 hours. I'm going to give you guys $200 off your membership. This is really the ecosystem that I've created and worked hard to vet and put the best and brightest minds together to really explore this exciting area in all these areas. AI is real hot right now, as well as blockchain and IoT. There's just a huge article in a huge spread in the Wall Street Journal about artificial intelligence and why it's taking off now. And the big reason why it's taking off now is because we've got this compute power that's so much greater than what it was before, and we have these huge data sets from big companies like Amazon and Google. So big data is available now, and that's a big piece of what AI needs to be successful. So yeah, again, sign up for the Blockchain Inner Circle at blockchainsecurity.com/inner-circle or blockchaininnercircle.com and use that promo code. You've got 24 hours to secure that discount there, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the other side. We'll take some questions now. Bring Josh in. All right, looks like we got some. Good afternoon, Kimberly. Good afternoon, Cyril, JP. Post your questions to the chat, if you don't mind. No questions today?
Hey, Craig, can you hear me?
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, I was just going to say,
I don't see any
people can post something in the chat, or if they want to jump on the audio, we can have a back and forth there too.
Sure, absolutely. Wow, no questions today. Oh my goodness. All right, so you all are blockchain and IoT and AI experts then. All right, well, that's interesting. Last week we had so many questions, it was crazy, and this week we have nothing. Well, if you guys are, we'll wait a few minutes and stick around, and you guys are good, and oh, Sarah's got a question. Cool. All right, what's your question? Cyril, you can type your question, or I can bring you on. It's your choice. All right, Cyril's question is, what top 2 to 3 industries would I say would be likely to have a blockchain project implemented over the next 1 to 2 years? Oh gosh, I mean, there's so many industries that are working on them right now as we speak. Healthcare is huge right now. We actually have some exciting things in the pipeline in tracking, similar to the supply chain example I gave you earlier with the fish, where they want to track organs on a blockchain. So that's an exciting project. The legal industry is being revolutionized by this with smart contract technology. So I would say supply chain, healthcare, and legal would be the top 3. But there's, like in the farming, and there's a company called Ripe.io, where they're looking to use this technology. There's just industries all over, but those, I would say those would be the top 3. Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions for you guys? There's big things happening with records management too. Records management and counties and local government are exploring how to basically, for example, a title of your land, for example. That stuff is a great use case to store on a blockchain. Okay, JP has a question. What's the inner circle I referred to? So basically, the inner circle is the group that I created to basically bring all these different experts together. So we've got blockchain attorneys, we've got ICO specialists, we've got blockchain developers, machine learning and deep learning experts. So we've got all these resources in our inner circle, so that by you joining, you can get access to those resources to explore how some of these new technologies can give your business the competitive edge. So Ciro has a question. Oh, sorry, JP. You can join by going to blockchaininnercircle.com, or you can go to blockchain security. I'll put it in the chat as well. They both go to the same place, but you can go there and you can sign up there, and be sure to use that that promo code that I put there.
Hey, Craig, before you go to the next one, maybe you could just talk to a little bit about what you found about the process of going to the next level, and so sort of why you created the inner circle as sort of a step before the next step. So
yeah, absolutely. So I created the inner circle because I found I did a presentation at Google Fiber about a month and a half ago now, and a lot of people came up to me. They were super excited, attorneys and just different people in different areas, and they had these great ideas, but they didn't even know how, number one, if there was a use case to leverage blockchain, and they had the idea, but they didn't have the business use case and business plan developed yet, and they really didn't know who to talk to about it. So that's why they came to me, and I saw this this need for helping these people, and that's why I created the inner circle, to basically bring all these people together to help people find the people that they need to execute on their idea.
yeah, and maybe what I was referring to too is that next step of the use case is a pretty expensive step if you really want to get into flushing that out into a business plan, something that you can raise capital with. What's been your experience with that, and what that looks like, just so people can know if they're thinking about ideas?
So I found that there's a lot of work that goes into the discovery aspects of, is an idea good? And if it is good, how can it be, what areas can be leveraged? So there's a lot of a lot of work and discovery from multiple parties that need to be done to figure that out. It's kind of like a patent process. It's kind of like you got this great idea, but if you've ever gone through a process like that, you have to figure out, well, somebody else think of this idea too, and is it is it really unique and different? So there's a lot of discovery and work that has to be done. So I found that the amount of work that takes, that's about a $50,000 and up type venture to figure that out. And that's why I created the Inner Circle too, because there's a way to do that at a lower rate if you wanted to do that by yourself. But if you needed expertise and help with that, that's also an option for you too. But the other cool thing that I found in connecting with all these different specialists is that even if you can't afford that 50K or whatever it is if your idea is a great use case, there's financing options available through various means that we can talk about. The hottest one right now is called the ICO, or the initial coin offering. But there's really been a lot of governance around that, especially in America, because there was a bunch of companies just last year that went through an ICO process, and it was kind of bogus, or it was bogus. So they raised $37 million, and there was really nothing there. So the government obviously was not happy about that and really cracked down on it. However, there is still ways to legally and properly do ICOs. It's just they're under a microscope right now. And that's like I said, that's why I created this group, to bring those great minds together and explore that journey with you guys, and really help you guys take these ideas and make some money out of it. And Sarah's asking if there's any interest in starting an AI ML DL Inner Circle. Well, that's really what I've done in kind of summary of the Inner Circle. That's what it is now. I am covering artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, all under the same. But if there's interest in certain areas, and I get enough people that want a specific AI circle, that absolutely I'll consider breaking that out and having multiple Inner Circles. But right now I'm basically just kind of putting it all under one umbrella at the moment.
Yeah. Did you see Ciro had a question about what intermediary is most likely to be disrupted by blockchain, which may replace them as a trusted authority?
Well, the example I gave earlier with the title, I don't know if you guys have ever bought a house, but you have to pay for like this land title and mineral rights and all these different things to figure out if you've got oil in your ground, all sorts of, but you got to pay a third party for that. So right now, blockchain's revolutionizing that and basically eliminating the need for having that trusted third party. It's just not necessary anymore. That could be all stored publicly on a blockchain solution and completely wipe out that industry. That's just one example. I think you're going to start to see, even in really a lot of these areas, banking, for example, I don't know if it'll happen in the next few years or not, but I think cryptocurrencies are pretty much here to stay. So banking is going to have to adapt to that. There's actually something I read where the NASDAQ said that they'd be open to being a cryptocurrency exchange. So I was like, wow, that's pretty bold. But the point is that this stuff, meaning Bitcoin, for example, it was put out there by Satoshi Nakamoto, whether it's a person or a group of people. It was released out to the wild in this white paper format. Here's the code. Here's everything. It was born. It's being used now, and it requires no middleman bank. So if you wanted to exchange money, you can use Bitcoin. You don't even need to have a bank account. So obviously that's hugely disruptive to the banking industry, and the banking industry is kind of freaking out. And this is another interesting parallel to this. You can Google search this, but JP Morgan Chase first was like, no, Bitcoin's the devil. Don't do anything with cryptocurrency. It's really bad. Stay with the banks. Well, then they were caught red-handed exploring and doing R&D in the cryptocurrency and blockchain space. And then they later retracted their comments and were like, yeah, we're exploring blockchain and cryptocurrencies now. And then, so it's really weird, slippery slope situation we're in. Another thing they did on Coinbase.com is a popular place where you can go sign up and trade US dollars for Bitcoin, Bitcoin Hash, Litecoin, and Ethereum. Well, what JP Morgan Chase did was they implemented surcharges to the credit cards. So now it's not very easy to use a Chase credit card. Sometimes it's impossible to use a Chase credit card to buy cryptocurrency. And so why are they doing that? They're doing that because they're kicking and screaming the whole way along to prevent this disruption. But it's going to happen. It's already started to happen, and it's only going to get worse as far as roles changing. I'm not saying that banks are going to completely go away, but what I am saying is that the job roles may change and shift, and the amount of banks that we have may be reduced. So those are two examples of very disrupted areas right now.
Well, yeah, they're going to have to adapt in some way, or be gone.
Right.
It's sort of like music with oh no, you have to buy the CD. You have to buy the CD. Okay, well, no, you don't.
Yeah.
So.
And with music, for example, you're never really buying it. I mean, back in the day, you used to buy the record or the CD, right? But if you read the fine print, you never really own it. You're owning the right to use it in a certain way if you read the licensing. So it's interesting how where we are today. Like for Kindle, for example, you buy a book on Amazon Kindle. Again, you're buying the license and the right to read that work. But if you read the fine print, you're not supposed to, you can't physically give it to you can lend it, which is why they have the Kindle lending program. But you can't will it to your kids, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It just vaporizes. So it's really weird how all that works. But
yeah.
Any other questions, you guys? Yeah, credit bureaus. Ciro said something. Absolutely. I mean, there's actually technology or companies working on in the AI space, the machine learning space, credit scoring, credit bureaus, things like that, and using blockchain. Any more questions?
What was that? What was the code again for the discount? Just was going to type that in the chat.
Oh, sure. Blockchain webinar.
All right.
All right, guys. Well, if you guys don't have any other questions, then hopefully we'll see you in the inner circle, and I'll probably do another one of these. You're welcome, Ciro. Great to have you. Probably do another one of these next week. Try to change it up a little bit. But yeah, by all means, if you have any questions, send them along, and we'll get them answered for you.
Cool. Thanks, Craig.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.